In your words, how do you see Chuck?
Well, well, he was writing these great bits, these short stories, and behind him was this incredible beat. That to me, that's why I love rock and roll. You know, when music starts to get to that kind of a feel, you know, and I have to move when I hear it, and some of those early recordings, they were just finding their way. You know, I mean, I think he was really smart. He figured out, you know, like how to bring that blues, you know, background and make it more commercial. You know, and you know, he was singing to 16-year-old white girls. You know, and it was another shout across the barrier there at that point, just the way Elvis did. You know, I mean, he was, you know, this amazing black sounding cat that people were afraid of until they saw he was a supposedly clean cut white kid. So, you know, the lines were getting crossed. You know, as long as you listened to the music, it was all coming across. You know, you liked it, but when you saw that it was, again, Elvis, this white kid, sounding black, and Chuck with his, you know, and cleaning himself up to fit in with that, you know. Those songs were the greatest vehicle for that, because it was the music was danceable, the lyrics were very, very compact, told a story with every song, and that's why I think that Hemingway comparison works for me. He was very economical in his writing, and Chuck was, you know, and he told a story. He you know, and the beat was there, and that's what kids wanted, you know.
So, who were you listening to back in the early days of rock, in the turn of the 60s and the, well, not turn of the 60s, mid 60s? What aspect of the style of those people that you were listening to, was it the Chuck Berrys of this world, or was it the Rolling Stones creating of Chuck Berry compositions?
Well, I came from a very small suburban town outside of Boston. We got a couple of radio stations. We got the standard 3 TV stations. So it was pretty isolated from as far as that goes. There weren't like a bunch of blues clubs around, a bunch of rock clubs around with like guys going for it. I mean, it was like I had to go search that out. So when I finally, I mean, I've always had an attraction to the guitar, and I liked some of the stuff that I was hearing on the radio. I could play along with some of the songs and that kind of thing. But then, like, when the Beatles came over, that was so heavy. It was a world changer. It was a game changer, because not only was it like was it the start of this counterculture movement that was going on in the States and around the world, but they were making sounds that arguably 100 years ago you'd need a 100-piece orchestra. You know, the way that their chords worked and their harmonies and the harmonics and all that. They could fill a stadium with this incredible sound, and with, you know, 3 guitars and drums. It was amazing, and of course there was the whole pop thing that went along with it. They you know, people were hungry for that. They wanted that, and it was like there was so much controversy around them. The stuff that Lennon said. I mean, obviously, he was way ahead of his time. He still is, politically and all that. But for us kids, it was like, they're going to be on Ed Sullivan tonight. We're going to go, you know, all day long at school. It was almost like a holiday. The teachers couldn't keep the kids quiet, and the girls were going crazy. And the guys are sitting there going, you know, but for me, it was like, wow, this guitar thing is really, you know, I'm really going to learn how to play this thing, and it's a really amazing. It was an amazing time too, as kind of a sidestep here, but you know, we saw the guitar go from basically a rhythm instrument, and a few guys were taking it to jazz, but basically a rhythm instrument that wasn't very loud. They plugged it into an amplifier, and then these sounds started coming out. And then guys like Scotty Moore were adapting that kind of that rhythm and turning it into a lead instrument. And then when these guys were like taking those blues songs and again Chuck Berry songs and turning that guitar into a lead instrument, it's a brand new instrument as we see it today. I can remember walking down the street as a kid, you know, 17, 16, with a guitar case in my hand, and people would gather around. It was like walking a little dog through the park, having the girls come up, you know. It was more of a statement to even have a guitar case in your hand than people could realize today. So there was so much of that with what was going on in my world in the States, you know, and so we watched this instrument go from being that to this thing to a centerpiece that people would flock to these arenas and stadiums just to see people play the guitar. This new instrument and every time a record would come out, there'd be some new sound that would come with it, like the Stones with Satisfaction. What's that sound? I mean, it doesn't sound like any guitar I ever heard. It's 3 notes, but it was like, it got everybody dancing, you know. So the word classic is starting to take on the true meaning of the word, which is, it's classic the way that Beethoven's music is classic, the way Amadeus, people are going to be playing this music, you know, reproducing it forever from here on out. And but anyway, getting back to the subject, we would see who was writing these songs, and Chuck Berry's name kept showing up. And who's this guy Chuck Berry, you know? Because we weren't hearing it on the radio, you know. I wasn't, you know, close enough to the city to hear like some stations. So we went out and found these records, and that's where I started to sit down with the record player and learn how to play these things. And Chuck's stuff it's incredibly hard to get the feel, but you can get the same kind of notes in the sound. So that's why it was so easily accessible to a very unschooled kid.